Jim, why don't we talk about, before we get to the AEW pay-per-view, why don't we get to the pre-show first? The feud that broke out on Twitter over the last few days, where apparently the high flyers in AEW have gone to war with Jim Cornette.
Well, it's not even. This is what I was talking about when I said I don't understand how they comprehend things and how they believe just stupid shit that they hear, and it ought to be preposterous on the face of it, but yet they just can't get it. So the other day, I looked at Twitter in the morning, as I want to do, to check and see if I need to retweet any of our YouTube clips or whatever. And there's this video from whoever this site was, and it's not anything to do with wrestling. It's one of the like goofy home videos or wild things happening in traffic. You know what I'm saying, right? Videos. And it just happens to be, there's these people, there's like 2 or 3 people sitting on a couch in this big living room in somebody's apartment somewhere. And these other 2 guys are playing wrestling. But the thing is, they're doing spinneroonie fucking DDTs. And this one kid is getting he's taking full backdrops on the floor and flat back bumps on the floor where he'll spring back up like they do on TV. But one time he goes back and you could hear his head hit the floor and he turns over and lays there. And right as the guy's saying, "Hey, you all right?" They cut the clip. And then they're hitting him in the head with shit. And he's taking these bumps on the floor. And then suddenly they're out on the fucking deck. On the deck, like the 2x4s over the 4x4 posts on the fucking deck. And they're doing power bombs on his guy. Then they fling him off the porch and he lands on cardboard. I shouldn't say porch, the deck. It's on the second story. And they fling him out of that and he lands on cardboard that's spread out over the top of the poison ivy on the ground. Then he splashes out the fucking window on a guy or whatever. But apparently they didn't have enough money for a table, so they use cardboard. And this big guy picks this other guy up, and they've got the cardboard laid out between 2 chairs, and he choke slams him through it, and he just goes right through to the floor, and it looks like it kills him. And I'm not sure it didn't. I think that's where the fucking deal ends, right? And that was the video, these fucking maniacs. And the quote on it was, "These kids have no idea that these are the fun memories that they're going to remember for the rest of their lives," or something like that. And so it wasn't like there was a lot of the comments I saw said, "Oh my God, they're going to break the big screen TV. Jesus Christ." It wasn't any particular wrestling promotion. They're just these morons, right? And I retweeted this clip and I said, imagine what fun that the orthopedic surgeons are going to have. Their memories will involve hours of surgery and massive bills, which I didn't think was particularly inflammatory. Brian, would you say for any particular wrestling promotion? There was no specificity made.
No, you're speaking specifically about what they're doing in this video, but it's not aligned with any company or anything, no.
About these underage minors attempting to paralyze themselves, yes. And so anyway, I tweet that out, and I think that everybody will get a good chuckle out of it. And then I come back about 5 hours later, been signing books. And I come back and I'm in the office, I'm going to check the Twitter and there's thousands of fucking tweets. There's thousands of, I got like a couple of thousand of the little Hardy things, right? But then, I got people responding to it and say, oh, Jesus Christ, what's the matter with these fucking people? They're all going to goddamn go to the hospital. That type of demeanor. And then all of the fucking people who don't follow me, who you've never see crawl out of the woodwork when they defend the flippy do stuff, were enraged that I would. This is what the business has come to. Cornette, you're going to have to deal with it. Here the business has evolved. What business? Here's some fucking teenage jack-offs in their living room throwing people out of windows. Has anything to do with any business? What I do? This is what the business has come to. So, anyway, they're saying that I'm out of touch. I'm an old man. I have to deal with the business has evolved, but the business of the monkey business, as Dusty would say. Boy, they were right next to the china cabinet too. I just looked at that again on my Twitter. And then there were people say, you just hate fun. You just hate fun. You don't want anybody to have a good time. It seems like everybody's doing this shit to the same fucking guy. Although a lot of this stuff is dark and they're all kids, so you can't really tell. But this guy may not have fun for fucking long. If he continues to give himself brain damage and misalign his spine and do this goofy shit that these other people are laughing at him while they're doing to him. And then there was people besides the ones who were I hate fun, and besides what the business has come to. I was I wrestled in my backyard. We all did that. As you know, kids that age are indestructible. No, they're fucking not. You hear people, kids that are injured in goddamn sports incidents and paralyzed in sports incidents nationwide is a disturbing fucking statistic, but nevertheless, they say, oh, we did this. They weren't looking at I defy any of these motherfuckers to actually have allowed people to throw them off a second floor deck and take a flat back bump on cardboard on the ground. They may have been backyard wrestling, Brian, but do you think that 99.3% of these people were doing it at that extent or not? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, a lot of us, when we're younger, have like wrestling matches in the backyard, the front yard, the basement. That's what wrestling fans who are kids do. But it wasn't like, hey, let's jump off the roof. No, we never did that.
Oh, yeah, and you saw this video also. I think you could testify that this fucking kid's going to have some issue. Just almost no way around it. A physical issue. But besides that, so the people said we wrestled. Well, I did too. I've told the stories when I was a teenager. We had wrestling matches. You know what? We stuck foreign objects in our trunks, tried to hide them from the referee for the two spectators in attendance. And hey, referee, pulled my hair. You know, wrestling. But also, no, there was a lot of stomping of the feet on the punches. And headlock takeovers were optional sometimes, but nobody was taking full fucking backdrops because we're on the goddamn floor. What? We could recognize 50 years ago at the same age that we are not in what the wrestlers use to do this. Therefore, what the fuck? How stupid can you be? They don't play professional football on asphalt. So I can't identify with that mindset, except that these jackass stunt spot monkeys, as we'll get to shortly, have made this a thing where it's some type of badge of honor that you can physically destroy yourself with dreams of grandeur. That it's palatable to these people that you can just do this in your backyard and then just walk into the goddamn national television scene for hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars because these fucking morons some of them have done it. But then they also say, well, Mick Foley did it and the Hardys, and they overlook that Mick Foley, after he, as a teenager, jumped off his roof onto a mattress, actually went to a legitimate wrestling school, Dominic DeNucci's, and trained. And it's in his book if they bother to read it. Because what these people are doing here, it's because they said, well, these are the other Twitter comments from these people. Well, they have to learn somewhere. Well, they're learning to bump. No, they're not learning to bump because the jackass next door is the one that's throwing them off the porch. How is he conveying any wisdom? Here, jump. The fuck? What are you saying? They've got to learn to bump. Once again, they have fostered the opinion in people that this part of the population's mind that you can just fling yourself off shit and then go be a wrestler. It's such a simpleton's, shallow and superficial view of what the business is at a professional level that it's mind-numbing. These people can't see fucking through it. But the problem is, some of the marks in the business can't see through it. And again, and I'll say one more thing, and then we'll talk about a couple people in specific that are marks in the business. But Brian, remember they said, that's what the business has evolved into, Cornette. You're going to have to deal with it. And I said, this doesn't really have anything to do with the fucking business. TKO, the overlord conglomeration that owns the UFC and the WWE, also owns the PBR, right, Brian? Not Pabst Blue Ribbon, but the professional bull riding people thing place.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
Okay. We have now people making videos in their backyards and training in their basements and flinging themselves through tables and furniture, doing the wrestling. And there's people on Twitter that think, well, they've got to learn somewhere. Is there also video? And they say, and the business has changed. Just deal with it. Is there video of anybody, some fucking guy down in Shepherdsville outside a fucking farm, climbing the fence, finding the fucking bull and trying to ride his ass and getting fucking gored and thrown up on the roof of the barn? And people said, well, goddamn, the bull riding business has changed. Does it work that way too?
No, it does not.
So what is it about this? So I had tweeted that, yeah, the surgeons are going to have a field day. And then I got about my business, came back and all these comments that I did just because how did these people even see this? If I, they don't follow me and I didn't, tag any fucking company or whatever, as the kids say. And then I looked and saw that independently of each other, but apparently at almost the fucking same time, Ospreay, I guess because he's on England time, whatever that may be over there. Ospreay had tweeted the same clip, not in response to me, had tweeted the same clip that I saw and scoffed at with the phrase, I fully support this. It's like, have I ever mentioned to you how that I wouldn't be able to take me in the same room with a lot of these fucking guys? It's like an instant opposite. And I couldn't believe that. Here is again, that's like one of the professional bull riders saying to the guy, go jump the fence. Yeah, old fucking old behemoth over there. Try him. Or it's like a movie stunt man saying, hey, kids, here's great footage of people trying to set themselves on fire at home, and you can do it too. Am I crazy in this? And these are kids, they're teenagers. But I'll tell you why he said this, what I said to him, etc. But Brian, am I crazy in the thought that professionals shouldn't actually be encouraging these people to go to this extent to fucking break their bodies up to imitate what they're seeing on television in a hostile environment not built for said activity.
You know, there's a reason that for years WWE began their programming with a "don't try this at home" thing, you know? There was a reason for it. And that was before things went to the level they're at now, especially with AEW specifically. But then WWE eventually adapts and does that stuff too. But that's from back then. That's from wrestlers breaking their neck, and the few cases you heard about kids doing wrestling things at home that made the news usually resulted in someone's death or just something bad.
Or don't hit people overhead. And this is still, to this day, Uncle Dave and a whole bunch of them, I can't believe they're still doing chair shots. And as I said, give me a guy that knows how to give me a chair shot, and I will take him 100 times over letting any of these motherfuckers even jump off the top rope on me. They're crazy in weird ways, but nevertheless, your point.
Well, I think that was my point right there.
Oh, well, good. Then I'll go back to my point. So if I comb my hair right, nobody will notice it. So Ospreay says, I fully support this. And so what's it? The quote tweet. I quote tweeted him. I said, he says from his hospital bed after major surgery, kids, keep trying this at home. And that got another couple or 3,000 fucking little hearty thingies and got everybody fucking stirred back up and everything. But I was gobsmacked at that. And then at some point later on, because again, there's a time difference and I get on Twitter 2-3 times a day, maybe. He had tweeted back and he pays for the blue check so he wrote a manifesto. I zoned out on it. Like many of his interviews, it was very wordy. Not cussing me, but defending his point. And at one point he said, well, Jim, as you know, you broke both of your legs falling off the scaffold. And he said it with a straight face, like that actually happened. I say said it with a straight face. He wrote it like that was a legitimate, acknowledged fact. He thinks I broke both my legs. But nevertheless...
Well, and if I could say something too, because every now and then when you hear someone get mad at your criticism of this stuff and they bring up the scaffold, it's almost like some of them think you took a bump. Like, it wasn't Bubba was supposed to catch you and you guys didn't take into account. It's almost like Jim Cornette took this big bump off the scaffold. Like, they don't even realize what it is.
Well, and or they say fell off the scaffold and, you know, because you weren't trained to take a bump properly. No, the concept then was you just hang and drop to your fucking feet and try to make it look good from there. But it wasn't like to take a fucking bump. And I tore my ACL, obviously. It is one of the more oft repeated played bumps in fucking history, and we've told a story, but he thinks I broke both my legs.
Both your legs.
But never, and again, it was attempting to do something on your own without relying on anyone else, at least, and you're landing still in the ring on a padded surface. So there is, and it was, here's the problem I have also, which I'll get to with other numbnuts in a minute. It was also on the biggest show of the year for fucking 10 grand at the 40 years ago, which I think we've established is about 35 grand, and blah, blah, blah. It wasn't, I'm being thrown off the fucking porch at home.
And it wasn't just an interchangeable thing in the middle of the show. It specifically led to Starrcade 86's videotape being like the best-selling one they ever had.
Well, tell Jimmy Crockett that and remind him, because I wish I'd have got the check. But nevertheless, where I was going with that was, I said, this guy is saying this, and they fire back with, or Ospreay comes back with this long manifesto, and he thinks I broke both my legs. And then he also he did the same thing. He attached video of this dark gym, I guess, somewhere. I believe it was him as a teenager. I couldn't tell her. There was no lights. But somebody was dropping them on their fucking head on wrestling mats. They didn't even have a ring. His whole basic thing was, I came from where these kids are. Exactly. That's why you've just had fucking neck fusion surgery. And he said, this is my first major surgery. What? I don't know what qualifies as major, but neck fusion when you're 30-something. But nevertheless, that may be why that, unfortunately, he's been a guy in Japan and he's been a guy on British independence because a freakish athlete who can do all the amazing flips that they've practiced and the moves. But he was never properly trained before he had self-trained. So he didn't gather what to do when, how to protect others and yourself, how to apply logic and psychology to a match. You can get a chimpanzee to imitate many of the overly gymnastic moves and with a high degree of perfection, I'm sure. But you can't teach the chimpanzee how to project the emotion of enjoying inflicting pain on the baby face or of being in peril as a baby face yourself or in putting the chain of things together that plays on the people's emotions. That's past the chimpanzee. That's how you go. That's why you go to wrestling school. And even the guys that were self-trained, like before we mentioned Mick, I say self-trained because they say, well, they started in the backyard. Mentioned Mick, yeah, he went to Dominic DeNucci's school. They mentioned the Hardys. Matt learned to work. Jeff's work was always a shit, technically, in the ring. But he was Jey Uso 25 years ago. They just fucking loved him. He was a superstar. And you work around that. But technically, his work was always shit. But all of these guys were, to some extent, whether they were self-trained or not, they were trained in terms of even on the job being in the ring with guys. And whether they want to admit it or not, some do and some don't. Some were like, oh my God, it was a revelation when I went to wrestling school. And others was like, oh, I knew everything. Tony Khan employs most of them. But that's the issue there is that Ospreay did this, and he's just now, with all of that athletic talent, gotten on national television in the United States 2 years ago after he's already tore his body up because he never learned anything past this performance thing they've got going on that they have convinced themselves in their modern indie wrestling little bubble is just going to appeal to everybody in the goddamn world. And they're killing themselves and they're fusing their necks and they're doing who knows what to their fucking spines and brains. And then meanwhile, while that, Brian, had gone on, as I said, independently of each other, he, at this almost the same time as I had said, look at this stupid shit, he had said, oh, I love this. I don't know exactly when he got into it, but old Ricochet, he had to say something. And as a matter of fact, I'm trying to find, because I don't want to misquote. Here we go. I figured out how to look this up. He responded to me. I was picking on his friend, Will Ostrich, because then he responded to that. And again, he's got to be the defender somehow of this clientele, but they don't feel the same way about him. More on that in a second. But he says, well, didn't a bunch of the old school guys have knee and back and hip and neck and all other types of surgeries and injuries? Weren't they working smart? You sound He's a wordsmith here, ladies and gentlemen. He has cut me with his rapier-like wit. You sound fucking dumb as shit. I had to check and make sure it wasn't one of goddamn just the marks, but it's he's got a little check mark. He claims to be Ricochet, and nobody would claim to be him if it wasn't him. And then actually everybody else did my work for me, really, because they jump in on him and they call him a bald-headed, thin-skinned little bitch. And his own Twitter people don't fucking like him. He just has a negative personality in almost every goddamn circle here. Even, I mean, here's one. That's cool. Your career is still a failure. Just and everybody was bringing up, and rightfully so, they worked 300 days a year and blah, 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 and had to work smart. And it was an accumulation of injuries, you moron. And of course, then some of the people came to his defense and said, well, they all did drugs and did steroids and drank alcohol and cheated on their wives. I'm not sure how that has anything to do with your life expectancy, except if your wife has a fucking gun. But they did all this and they all died. Is that what you want, Cornette? What the fuck? How is it some people have to defend foolish, stupid behavior by anonymous people that they don't even know, to the point where that they will invite people to just think they're stupid and tell them so on the fucking internet? And so I answered, instead of Ricochet, I think we should just call him, instead of Richard Shea, Ricochet, old Ricochet. But in answer to his statement, didn't they have a bunch of surgeries and injuries? Many did, simpleton. It came from taking bumps as pros and getting paid for them, not getting flung off roofs into parking lots for free as children. Like you and your trampoline friends who claim to be professionals, but are stealing money from a rich kid to put on your own jackass shows. And then I think he said, you're still fucking dumb. Or something that Lumpy Rutherford may have said at one time. But, Brian, what are these people not getting about this? It's not even about the style of wrestling, because a lot of people were tweeting, the thing where the point goes over the guy's head. No, you shouldn't be doing this at that level of that much danger as children, because you're going to end up paralyzed, and then your fucking parents are going to have to feed you through a straw for the rest of your fucking life. And it has nothing to do with the wrestling business. But because these marks for themselves, the ostriches and the ricochets and etc., they encourage this behavior because they were freakish athletes in a way that were able to do athletic things that simulate whatever the fuck it is they simulate. And they stuck it into wrestling and they found spots. As I said, in Ospreay's case, in Japan, they don't care about personality and whatever the fuck. They don't do promos. Here's moves. And in the K, and in England, the Indies, whatever, and he's a bruv. He's a bro. Well, he's a bro over there, which is a bruv. Because a bruv is a bruv, a bro. But then with Ricochet, they made him a gimmick in the middle-ish in the WWE, and then he probably became a pain in the ass, and they didn't want him anymore, whatever the case. But not everybody is going to be able to land on their feet most of the time when they do the flips. Some of them's going to be like this kid in the clip who's just getting brain damage. Don't encourage that behavior. Encourage taking the business seriously, finding a quality, competent trainer, and letting them tell you what this fucking thing is about instead of being the trained chimp. That's my goddamn statement to the trained chimp Ricochet and the trained chimp Ospreay, who just had his neck fused, who endorses children paralyzing themselves for Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
And again, maybe not the two brightest guys, and I think most people realize that. And they certainly love their style, but again, go back to any time in wrestling history. If Bret Hart had Twitter and tweeted out in the mid-90s, "Oh, great job with that pile driver. Really do it good next time. Good, keep going. I love seeing this." Would have been fired. And Tony should recognize that too. You shouldn't have your wrestlers encouraging your fans to wrestle the really dangerous style that these wrestlers have wrestled. Ricochet hasn't been badly hurt yet. Ospreay, may be his first major surgery. It won't be his last. If he's going to come back and do the same stuff he did before, it won't be his last. Look at Omega. Look at Kenny Omega. Look at the shape of Kenny Omega right now. And Kota Ibushi. And all these guys. There's a reckoning coming for a whole bunch of guys who work a specific style. And the idea that any of them would encourage anyone else to do this without any training, just for fun in a shitty video that's shot poorly, it's ridiculous.
Well, here, who wasn't in that video? Mom. Where was Mom? Because when Mom comes home and the kid is laying out in the backyard because somebody has flung him off the fucking porch and he's paralyzed, Mom is going to call Stephen P. New at 877-50-STEVE and sue somebody that showed her kid it was okay to do this for fucking millions of dollars for his continued permanent medical care. And as we know, in some cases, whether there's a lot of validity to things or not, sometimes when they know you got $1 billion, it's easier to just pay somebody to fucking go away than it is to goddamn go through the deal. So what?
And speaking of $1 billion, it's easy when you have a billionaire paying you more money than you're actually worth to go out and, act flippant about this whole thing. It's not as easy to cut a good promo, actually cause people to tune in to see you, cause people to spend money to buy tickets to see you, all those other things that typically made a successful professional wrestler. I'm separating Ricochet a little bit from Ospreay here, just because Ospreay, there could be something if he could stay healthy. Ricochet's just a clown. And I think that's the way everyone I know sees him.
And that's okay. And you just said with Ospreay, yes, that's from the first time I saw him until the more you see of him, the more you realize. But I've said, out of the bunch that Tony signed, you could make something out of him. You get something out of him. He's got that boyish charm. He's got a nice physique. He's amazingly athletic. He's allowed the freedom to talk as long as he wants, which is not his friend. And this is the kind of shit he knows how to do, to be a video game character in a wrestling match instead of channel the shit more wisely and do less of it so it means more. And somebody, all right, less is more. We've been hearing that for less in a lot of these matches would be more. Maybe 10 minutes less, but nevertheless, he never was taught and trained by any responsible mainstream professional that had drawn money in North America. And this is the kind of problem that I'm afraid our friend Kyle Felcher is going to fucking experience. He's going to end up in 10 years because he has nobody to look up to over there. And apparently, if people do know that work there, they're not being listened to. And he's going to end up in 10 years, having his neck fused and not be any more than a video game character wrestler when he could be in 20 years, Randy Orton. That is when I keep saying he's going to learn bad habits. He'll be the next Will Ospreay.
Well, we shall see. We'll stay on top of this story, see if anyone else mouths off. But Jim, when you're a high flyer and you plan to take to the sky, you don't want to take too much with you. You know what I mean? You want to fly light.
No, I don't know what you mean. Which one of these things would you...
Jim,
oh, okay, now I know what you mean.
Jim, when you're jumping off that top rope into the beyond, you want to
have a metal plate on your ass.
You want to make sure you have all the things you need, but you don't want to take too much. You want to travel light. You want to also be stylish. And we're talking about a great wallet from our friends at Ridge.
That's right. What you want to do is you want to come off the top rope with a Ridge wallet in your back pocket, and you will just obliterate a son of a bitch. Just land right on his face. You will mush it into jelly. He will look like the Elephant Man's twin brother after being beaten with a club.
I wasn't talking about weaponry. I was talking about the utilitarian need to make sure you have all of your ID, your credit cards. Maybe
but don't sell yourself short because you came up with something. Because I was thinking of the Fighting Star, because the Ridge wallet is so sleek and compact. It's the game-changing wallet that is unique among the slim modern wallets. You're not going to be sitting on a giant brick all day where it's going to throw your spine out of alignment, even worse than if you'd have been thrown off somebody's porch. And with the Ridge 2.0, it's even 10% lighter. Because every gram matters. It holds your money, your cash. It's got the cash straps, got the money clip, it's got the AirTag attachment, and it holds a dozen cards. But at the same time, it's made out of aluminum and titanium and carbon fiber. So talk about a carbon footprint. If you carry it in your back pocket, you'll have a carbon ass print. But
that's not, no.
If I was thinking the Fighting Star, because you could just swing it, and bam, and it's sticking somebody's neck. But now you can put it in your back pocket, jump off the top rope, and boom, and you can squish somebody. It's a perfect ass loading gimmick. You can have a foreign object in the ass of your tights. It's got over 100,000 5-star reviews, and many people say that they put it in their ass pocket.
No one is saying that. Can we get away from the club ass inferno and get back to Ridge wallet? And of course, it's not a weapon. It could be, but you're not going to think of it that way or use it that way, ladies and gentlemen. It will be a way.
Also, if you happen to be a young lady out, in a shady neighborhood late at night by yourself, stick a couple of fingers in those cash straps, and you could use it as a super brass knuckle. Boom, you nail a son of a bitch in the nose with that, he'll be sniffing the other way for a week or so.
Make sure you protect yourself.
That's why it's got 100,000 5-star reviews, the Ridge wallet, because they punched a lot of people in the nose with it. Yes.
I don't know if that's why. I think it's because it's so functional, easy to use. Again, travel light. The days of the big fat wallet with everything in it, those days are gone and buried.
Over.
We're now in the Ridge era, and we have a great deal for the listeners.
And they've got the RFID blocking technology. It keeps you safe from the digital pickpocketers. Every time somebody reaches their hand in your pocket, boom, a blade comes out, slices the end of their finger off.
That's not what happened.
And then you can trace them through their blood type.
We were doing so well. We were doing so well. That is not one of the functions or features of Ridge Wallet, but
no,
it is
they're
completely
solving
functional.
96. Yes. They're solving 96% of the crimes that way with the DNA from the blood.
That's not no, that's not true. Let's stick to the truth.
Well, losing your wallet is the worst thing that might happen, but with the Ridge tracker card, you're always going to know exactly where it is. So if you can't find your wallet, you just call up Ridge and they'll say, yeah, I got it right here. You got about $46 in cash. And ooh, that picture. Don't worry, I've got it. And they'll tell you it's fine.
Once again,
so that's perfect peace of mind for holiday travel and gifting.
It's simple. It's simplicity at its finest. It's a wallet, a thin, simple, wonderful wallet. It's sturdy. It's ready to go. Things we should be focusing on, not all of this other stuff.
And not all of them come with the picture of that girl. So, folks,
no
for a
pictures.
limited time,
Yes.
huh?
No, limited
Oh,
time.
there's a limited time. You might get a picture for a limited time.
You're not going to get a picture, but there's a limited
her
time.
husband
Jim.
will find out and put an end to it. So hurry.
Watch out for the husband. Limited time offer.
For a limited time, Ridge is having their huge Black Friday sale. Head to Ridge, RIDGE.com to get up to 47% off your order. See, this is why I just because I know that we're getting you this deal for half fucking price. That's what I'm saying to you. Half price, 47%. That's almost half. The other half would be 53%, but unless I'm doing the mathematics wrong. What do you think, Brian? Nevertheless,
Almost
the code
half. Yes.
is JCE is going to get you that 47% off. That's exactly what it is. Remember that, write it down. 47% off ridge.com. The code is JCE. 47% off, the biggest discount they have given or will give all year. It's the biggest sale of the year. And tell them you heard about them here.
Yeah.
And then they'll send you a picture of that lady.
They're not going to send any picture. That's once again, folks.
See, it's kind of like the secret knock. You say, well, we heard about you on Cornette's show. Ooh, so you get the picture of Ethel.
There ain't going to be any secret knock or pictures of Ethel, but what there is your chance to take advantage of Ridge's biggest sale of the year. Get up to 47% off by going to ridge.com/JCE.